Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live with myself, Daniel Caw, and my wonderful, esteemed colleague.
I thought you were going to say assistant.
My glamorous assistant, the one and only Keith Jackson.
Not glamorous at first floor.
Keith, how's things?
Aye, okay, busy day.
Aye.
Very busy day.
We've had a lot, before we get to your busy day, we've had a lot of feedback about our talking about gangster films last night,
Oh, aye.
which we will get to.
Hold on here, we're bringing live news, trying to engage with the sport, and but all they're caring about is our gangster picks.
That's it.
Okay.
You say you've had a very busy day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get stuck into it. You've been at Celtic Park.
Yep.
What I understand.
What's the stuff about the gangsters? I'm more interested in that.
We will come to that, believe me, there's a lot
Okay.
to talk about. But you've been at Celtic Park, Casper Schmeichel today.
Yes.
You heard from him.
Mm-hmm.
What did he have to say?
Spoke really well. He's an impressive guy, actually. He's been there, seen it, done it. Really relaxed in front of the media, and that was when the cameras were rolling and all that. Do you still use that expression, you young guns?
Just about.
And then sat the written press in a suite. Guys, I think I hesitate to say it, but I think I'll be proven correct over time. I think he might be an upgrade in Joe Hart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that because he spoke really well at a press conference today, but I think from I've watched Casper Schmeichel for years. Anybody that didn't get carried away with the Leicester story when they were Premier League champions, he's top. He's top, and I think he's maybe aged better than Joe Hart in terms of he's obviously not feeling the bumps and bruises that Joe Hart was talking about. That when you're hurling yourself around as a 17-year-old, it's fine. When you're trying to do it at 37, it takes a little bit longer to recover. There's no sign of that with Casper Schmeichel.
Yeah.
And I also get the impression with him that he's looked to Joe Hart and him go way back to their days together, competing at Man City to try and get the first team football. And I think that Casper Schmeichel, in fact, I know that Casper Schmeichel was really watching the kind of big farewell for Joe Hart. Yeah, he was watching it closely, and I think there was probably planted a seed. Wouldn't that be some way to bring the curtain down in your career, going out as a winner, going out at the top end of the game in terms of winning championships, playing Champions League football. And I think Casper Schmeichel's been looking at it and think that's a bit of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have that.
Well, Brendan Rodgers said he gets the Celtic experience now. You know what I mean? Towards the end of his career, he's done the Premier League, won the Premier League. He gets the Celtic experience. And some of his quotes today, when he was asked about his motivation, he simply said, "Winning is the only thing that motivates me."
Yeah, he said that, by the way, time after time. It was almost as if he's got it and he said, "That's my line. When I'm asked, I'll be winning."
Yeah. And he said, I've had some incredible experiences in my life in terms of winning things, and there is nothing that gets me up in the morning more than the thought of having those days again. Now, as you said,
he won one title at Leicester and he won an FA Cup, which was a brilliant achievement.
Leicester's only ever FA Cup, which is,
But now he's coming to a club that just wins things for breakfast.
You have to win every week.
Yeah.
The thing about Casper Schmeichel that he did touch on, though, he's actually older than Joe Hart. He's 38 in November. He's
younger than Joe Hart.
Is he younger than Joe Hart?
I think so. Maybe by only about a few months. But
okay. But he's 38 in November, and he's only signed a 1-year deal. But I think what you're kind of hinting at, and what I get from his comments, he's not going to be here for just 1 year.
I'd be surprised.
He's talking like a guy that's going to be here for several seasons.
I'd be surprised. The interesting thing is that when he left Leicester, he did an interview, and I think it would have been about December last year, maybe, where he admitted for the first time he didn't want to leave.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, Rodgers kind of let him go, didn't he?
Yeah, he let him go.
Aye.
But, I mean, it wasn't in a kind of, right, off you pop, I don't want you anymore. It was, I think, Nice had come in and offered him a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
And I think Casper Schmeichel went to Brendan Rodgers and said, 3 years, any chance? And at that point, Brendan said, no, you're free to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably hurt his feelings a little bit.
Yeah.
But clearly doesn't hold a grudge. And the two of them, I think they maintained a good relationship even after that. Although I think it would have been bruising that for Casper Schmeichel. He was perfectly happy at Leicester and he didn't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting kind of side issue, if you like.
Yeah.
But clearly the two of them got on fine, and so much so that he wasn't going to turn this one down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is a chance for the two of them to pick up quite a few gongs and glittering prizes. As you said, I'd be surprised if it's just a 1 year deal. He doesn't look or sound like a man who's coming here for 1 year.
Celtic have got a kind of a really good record since the turn of the century of having really top goalkeepers. You think about Boric, you think about Fraser Forster.
Yeah.
I thought Craig Gordon for youngsters
Excellent.
was absolutely brilliant. But I'm going to get stick for this probably, so you can send in your comments now if you like.
I'll give you stick. I'll do it for you.
No, but I think Kasper Schmeichel, if he plays to the level we know he can, I think he could be Celtic's best goalkeeper this century. Honestly,
Wow.
I think he could top them all. Honestly, I think he's that good.
I think Fraser Forster was
a bit
pretty
special.
good.
Yeah, he's a bit special.
And Craig Gordon, excellent. So it's a difficult one to debate, I guess. As far as I'm concerned, I actually do believe, and for this reason alone, he's a great shot stopper, as was Joe Hart, obviously. Joe Hart was a nightmare with the ball at his feet. A nightmare. It was just an accident waiting to happen. You were watching the centre halves knock it about themselves. Back to Joe Hart. If it was going anywhere, anything could happen at any moment. Every pass, like I think Walter Smith used to say about Scott Nesbitt, every pass was an adventure. Well, that was the situation at Celtic. We're finding themselves in, and it would have given me palpitations if I was the manager watching that week in, week out.
Aye.
Kasper Schmeichel, completely different. I mean, he's actually really good with the feet.
Yeah. You already saw that in the pre-season friendlies.
Well, he was saying, I think during his time at Anderlecht, it was the keeper sweeper thing, and he was playing in between his centre halves at moments and outside on the right hand side of one of his centre halves at times during games. Completely new education for him. But you don't do that with Joe Hart because you can't do it, and that was ultimately the reason that Joe Hart paid the price at Man City was that Pep Guardiola came in, and you can't play Pep ball where keeper with two left feet.
Pep just wasn't even having it.
No, it just wasn't. So both absolute superb. The main thing for me, a goalkeeper has to be good at, which is keep the ball at the back of the net. But I think Schmeichel I know he's got the edge. His distribution, if you remember that season at Leicester City, where he was hitting raking 50-yard passes over the top. Many times did you see that? And Vardy would race
several assists for Vardy.
Vardy probably scored about 10, 15 goals that season on exactly that. Schmeichel long ball over the top.
I'm going to put you in the spot now, right? For anyone watching, I haven't cleared this with Keith pre-show, so he might be a bit, I'm going to get stick for this. As we sit here right now, 1st of August, right? Who do you think's got the better goalie, Celtic or Rangers? Butland or Schmeichel?
I've got to say Butland in terms of he's younger, and that would be the main factor.
Gives him the edge.
If you were asking me to pick one, who am I having?
If you're picking an 11,
I'm having Butland.
Okay.
On the basis that he's younger.
Okay.
And that he's probably got his best years still in front of him. Kasper Schmeichel doesn't have that. I'd say he's got 2-3 right good years.
Yeah.
But he won't be at his best. Joe Hart wasn't at his best. Butland is probably nearing his peak. And certainly, if you were going to take one to the market, who are you going to? Who's going to raise the money for you? It would be Butland. So for that reason, Butland. But I tell you what, they are two top class goalkeepers.
Right, absolutely. And get involved in the discussion. Leave us a comment in the comment section below. Who do you think is a better goalie at the moment, Butland or Schmeichel?
By the way, it's a hard question to ask as well because we haven't seen Kasper Schmeichel perform for a couple of years, apart from he obviously played the Euros, and I thought he just looked to me as exactly as I remember him.
Same old Schmeichel.
But it'd be really interesting to see on a week-to-week basis, and then actually come back to me with that question a month into the new season or a couple of months in when you're seeing them compete regularly week in, week out.
Yeah.
It'll be fascinating, but my guess right now is that there's nothing much between them.
Yeah. Across Glasgow, obviously mentioned Rangers. I think it's worth talking about James Tavernier. He has been talking today. He addressed the kind of uncertainty that's been around his future this summer. I mean, I'll read out a few of his quotes at the moment, but it's kind of business as usual. He's saying, he says, I just don't take any notice, basically. There's been speculation for a long time, for a year and a half. Addressed it towards the end of last season. I'm fully committed to the job in hand. That's where my mindset will always be, fully committed, coming day by day and trying my extreme hardest to push myself and the team on. Now, to be fair, Keith, he can't really say much else.
Can't say anything else, no.
But, I mean, there's no doubt there's been uncertainty around his future. And even as we sit here now, it's fair to say, well, we're not certainly.
I don't think he'll be here at the end of the
Don't think he'll be here, no.
I think he'll be away. But that obviously in order for that to happen, they have to find somebody who's willing to pay whatever fee Rangers are asking for him.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be difficult to deal with. Not because they don't rate him, but he's a certain age, and he's been whatever anybody says about James Tavernier, he's been a tremendous servant for Rangers Football Club. So I don't think Rangers will be difficult, but Tavernier has to get the package financially that satisfies him. And he's not going to be forced out. He's got 2 years left to run his current deal.
Yeah.
So he won't go just to be a martyr. It'll need to be right for him and right for his family, and rightly so. But I think that he realises, and I'm sure that the manager's probably had a chat with him. The manager, and I've said this 2 or 3 times now, identified at the end of last season the need for a fresh leadership group within the dressing room.
Yeah.
Tavernier, after everything he's done in there, does he want to be on the outside of that?
Yeah.
Worrying about him actually wearing the armband that is Butland, the new captain. That'll be a fascinating thing to see. For example, this weekend,
Absolutely.
when they run out at Tynecastle, who's leading them out the tunnel? Because Tavernier might well start. I wonder if he'll be captain. And I wonder then, if Clement is laying down the law here and saying, this is what I want, I need a fresh restart, recalibration. It would also come as a bit of a slap in the face.
I think so.
The public humiliation a little bit. So I would like to think that wouldn't happen. I would like to think that Tavernier would be, given the dignity and respect of, yep, this window's still open. Chances are that I'll be moving on before the end of the window here. I'm not sure they really need to rub anybody's nose in it that way.
Yeah.
But again, these are big decisions for a manager, because if you're in that dressing room at the start of the season and you're saying, fresh start, guys, and here's how I want the fresh start to look, can you do that if part of the fresh start that you want is a change of captain and a change of leadership?
Aye.
I don't know. Fascinating to see. There's so many fascinating things to see.
Well, as you'd probably expect, the reaction to Tavernier's comments, there's been a great one on the Record Sports Facebook page, and I should say, if you're watching, hit us with your comments and your thoughts. David Shaler, sorry everyone, and this is only my opinion, his form and pace has dipped very quickly last season. Jack Jones counters that with, he's the best wing back in world football since Roberto Carlos. His stats and goals prove it. A little bit ambitious, I think, Jack. Andy Clark here saying, maybe like last year, no bids came in for him, but he's still a high earner. Wonder if he took a pay cut. And just finally, David Joyce, no club wanted him. His legs are shot, as his confidence. Now, before we started recording, you mentioned, Keith, a theory that I thought was a really good point. But maybe, Rangers constantly talk about this player trading model, copying Celtics. They kind of missed the boat with Tavernier.
100%. And as much as I am a huge admirer of James Tavernier and everything that he's done, his goals record, his assists, his numbers, his stats, blah, 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 it's absolutely out of this world, right? But if you've got a proper player trading model, as Rangers have pretended to have in place over a number of years now, which they clearly haven't, and the guy that was at fault for that was Ross Wilson. During Ross Wilson's time there, Rangers went to a Europa League final. Ross Wilson made a big deal of getting himself on the front of the plane and getting pictures taken and all that. Great, well done, Ross. I don't know what you did to help with getting this team to a Europa League final, but there you go. Have a seat.
Hopefully you're watching us.
Yeah, have a nice glass of wine on the plane. Well done, Ross. Now, Ross Wilson's job at that point was to say, right, we have got an outstanding asset who everyone in Europe is looking at, because how would you not?
Exactly.
At a time when he's the top goal scorer in the Europa League.
Literally the whole competition.
Across Europe.
Yep.
Strikers the lot.
Yep.
Tavernier's the... See, at that point, you sell James Tavernier because he's peaked. And there's only one way to go after you've peaked. But Rangers could have got in a fortune. And what did they have on the books at the time? They had Nathan Patterson.
I know, when you said that to me earlier, I completely forgot. That would have made so much sense.
Nathan Patterson left, I think, 6 months earlier. But if you're doing proper planning and you're putting together a proper player trading model, you say to Nathan Patterson, I know you're not happy because you're not getting games. Everton have come in, they bid 12 million. You're not going, you're staying. Next season, you'll be our first choice right back.
Aye.
You give him 3 seasons, Nathan Patterson. It would improve him the quality-wise as a player. He would come on leaps and bounds for getting regular starts week in, week out over the course of 3 years. You then sell Nathan Patterson for twice the amount that Everton were prepared to pay. Where's Nathan Patterson right now? Sitting on a bench because he can't get a game under Sam Allardyce. And you know, there's another thing. See if I'm Rangers.
Sean Dyche. Easily mixed up, but
I
just
saw-
before the
what
comment,
did I say?
Sam Allardyce.
Sam Allardyce. Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? What a slip of the
I was
tongue.
gonna-
If I'm Rangers right now, I would be taking a proper look at going back to everyone and saying, this boy's career is stolen.
Aye.
Your manager doesn't fancy him. We need a right back. How about getting him back up on loan for a year?
Worth asking the question at least.
And by the way, we'll send you down a player that's got 40 odd games under his belt,
Aye.
is fit, flying,
For a
and
huge club.
back to his top form.
Aye. Well, look, as well, Gordon Ashley on the hotline is written in as well, saying every year Rangers complain about their trading model and wonder why they lose to Celtic. Then they go and spend their transfer fees on loans and old players with no resale value. I think he's obviously touching on Robin Proper, who still yet
Well,
to
I
be
think we've
confirmed.
covered that. There's been two phases to this
Yeah,
Rangers shopping exercise this summer. And the first phase was bringing exactly that, young boys who might have a big potential sell on.
yeah,
You know, good young talent that you then develop into seasoned first team professionals. It's like the old Hamilton Ackie thing when you were getting James McCarthy, they were getting 100 odd games under their belt before they were still teenagers.
aye.
And that's what a club like Rangers needs to aspire to do, is to find the best young talent from all around the place, see if you can turn them into first team players, give them experience of couple of hundred first team games, and then that boy that you've picked up for buttons, you sell for fortunes.
Mhm.
Now, the example just have there is the Nathan Patterson one, but look what Celtic did with Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney was clearly ready for first team football.
Yeah.
Easy Guerri was a fan's favourite
Aye.
and nailed on starter week in, week out. But
Yeah.
someone at Celtic had the vision to say, do you know what? Thanks, you've done a great job. Off you pop, make room for this boy. Kieran Tierney comes into that team and has 3 seasons, gets all the games. Next minute, he's £25 million Arsenal.
Exactly.
And that's the way a proper player trading model
Aye.
should look.
Aye. And Tavernier would have been his prime age. And when did they get to the final of 2022?
You're talking about.
Aye, doing about 29, 30 to
Yeah.
be fair, but they'd have still got a lot of money from them.
But that's what I'm saying. He was peaking. It was clearly that he was peaking.
Aye.
It couldn't be anything else other than peaking.
Absolutely.
Because if he wasn't going to peak, then there was something bigger and better to come from him. That just plainly wasn't going to happen. That was the time to cash in, and they had the answer there.
We've got, as we always bring you every night in the Hotline Live, a glamorous guest to come on in just a one moment. But before we do, I'm going to put you in the spot again, Keith. I'm sorry, I'm not going to
That's
stick
what
on
I'm
this.
here for. Come on.
That's it, exactly. James Tavernier, is he a genuine, bona fide Rangers legend? In your eyes?
I don't think you could say that. No.
No, don't think so.
I don't think you could. I think that what constitutes a legend is sustained success
Aye.
over a period of
Aye.
years.
Aye, because I actually agree with you. But then, conversely, stopped Celtic's 10 or helped stop Celtic's 10 in a row, European final,
He's been an excellent.
over 100 goals.
He's an excellent player and he deserves his place in the Hall of Fame.
Aye.
But that, I think there's that's a certain level.
Aye.
I think describe someone as a club legend. It's a level above that.
Aye.
And I don't think that James Tavernier, will be considered in the history of time as a legend.
Aye.
He'll be regarded as a fantastic captain, a great right back, and an incredible goal scorer for the position that he played. But he's not a legend. And by the way, that's actually symptomatic. If anybody out there wants to argue otherwise and say no, he is a Rangers legend, well, that's probably why the club has gone as many years as it has with one title.
One title in 30.
Because they're accepting second-rate standards,
Aye.
and that has been a problem at Rangers. Everybody knows the financial meltdown, administration, liquidation, and from that point on, standards have been allowed to be
to erode.
yeah, they have eroded, and there were people in charge of the football club at the time that actually didn't care about standards. They saw Rangers as a cash cow. How was I going to turn a profit out of this? I tell you what, I'll put somebody in charge of the academy because that makes it look as if
Aye.
I'm doing all the jobs that I should be doing because I really care about a football club. Rubbish. People were put into positions that they had no talent for.
Aye.
Way above the talent level, and standards from that moment on just went out the door.
Aye.
And what Rangers really need to do, I keep using the word recalibrate, what they really need to do is bring back the standards that were there before the meltdown, when Walter Smith was still in charge and winning titles and winning trophies, they need to return to that.
Yeah.
They've not returned to it yet. And you wonder, I think there's a chairman in there that I'm sure wants to do that, and is, despite all the criticism he's coming in for, I'm sure that's what he has in his mind's eye, is Clement the manager he needs to re-establish those standards.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
And I should say, I do, as much as I'd love to disagree with you, I agree with every word you've just said, but if you don't, hit us with a comment in the comment section below. Right, away from Celtic and Rangers, one team that I would put to Keith. And
Hold on, actually.
Go on.
I've got another thought.
Go on, right.
Tavernier stuff today.
Yep.
Where he was just batting away and he's talking about his future, but not talking about his future, and I'm just concentrating on this thing. He did speak about it at the end of the season because he spoke about it when he was nominated for the Player of the Year awards.
Yeah.
And at that time, I sat around the table with him and he was talking, and he volunteered that he was in discussions with the club about his a testimonial year for his 10th year at the club. He's currently, this weekend, enters into his testimonial year.
That's mad.
Well, he's not mentioning that.
Aye.
And if
That's
James Tavernier thought that he was here and that his future was secure and it was going nowhere, he would have said today,
Aye.
by the way, I've got a testimonial coming up.
Aye,
It's all been arranged.
That's a fair point.
It's not. It's up in the air.
Aye.
James Tavernier knows he'll be gone before the end of the month, so long as James Tavernier can get a club that suits him.
Aye.
Quite rightly so.
Aye. Well, look, what I was going to say was there's one team that I would, I'm guilty of it as well, but I think we've neglected slightly this week is the Jambos, is Hearts.
We've been talking about Lawrence Shankland every night.
We're talking about Lawrence Shankland. A lot of Hearts fans might not like that, but
You're kidding me, has there been a bad reaction?
but one man who knows.
I've got a guy stalking me, saying that he knows where I get my Costa coffees and all that.
Really?
Well, Costa, not surprisingly, but wants to come down and meet me and all that. I've invited him to do exactly that. Come and introduce yourself.
I was going to say, if you're watching, leave a comment below on what coffee Keith takes every day. One man who does know plenty about the Jambos is none other than Ross Pilcher, the Records de facto Hearts correspondent, and he joins us now. Ross, how's it going?
Not bad, guys. Not feeling very glamorous. Thanks for that, but not bad. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
How are we doing, Ross? You all right?
All right, Jacko. How's things?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. By the way, you don't hang about in Costa Coffee, do you?
I was just going to say I've no idea where Jacko gets his coffee now.
Well, sorry we kept you hanging on there a wee bit, Ross, but we got quite a good.
Sorry, I got off on a rant.
But look, Hearts, there's been plenty to talk about this week regarding the Jambos. I was quite intrigued today to see Stephen Naismith talking about the goalkeeper situation. He's saying there's not a first choice at Tynecastle at the minute. That seems really odd to me. I don't know about you guys. Ross, what do you make of it?
It does seem odd. I kind of got last season that, you hear this argument that he's not done much wrong and Xander Clark hadn't, but for me, you need a number one. It not only helps in the dressing room, it helps your defence, and despite his age, I still think it's Craig Gordon. Jacko mentioned him earlier, how good he'd been for Celtic. He's still, at a level that Hearts won't get better than Craig Gordon when he does retire. Xander Clark.
What is he now? 41, 42?
41. He'll be 42 in December.
42 in December. I mean, that you even now, Ross, even at that age, you still think he's the best. He's the best choice for Hearts as number one goalie.
Yeah, I think so. He's not at the level he was when he was first at Hearts, because that was ridiculous. He was Virgin on. I'd say Virgin world class at that point.
Aye.
Now, even though he is 41, in the context of the Scottish Premiership, he's still arguably he's up there in the top three, I'd say. And definitely in that Hearts squad, as well as Xander Clark's done. He's a good, solid top flight keeper. He's not going to be he's not Craig Gordon. I don't think he is ever going to be Craig Gordon. I think he's a good replacement. But whilst you've got Craig Gordon at the club, for me, he's your number one. He's your first choice.
Ross, you're absolutely spot on, right? And I'll tell you for why. I said before the Euros that Craig Gordon should be going to the Euros as our second choice, as our backup to Angus Gunn. But if we've got a problem with Angus Gunn, who do you want going into the firing line at a major tournament? It was Craig Gordon all day long.
Aye.
That's because he's simply the best option. Now, I would need to be convinced that he was no longer the best option before I thought it was a good decision to take that number one status off him. I couldn't understand why there was a reluctance to throw him back in, which is the only thing that concerns me a little bit, Ross, is what are they seeing in the training pitch? Are they seeing something that we're not? For me, I would need to see Craig Gordon. I would like to see him play regularly, and then you make your judgment. Oh, he's maybe has lost a bit. He maybe is struggling. He's maybe 10% down when he was only 5% down. But Craig Gordon at 95%, as Ross says, I think he struggled to match him. We've talked about two brilliant goalkeepers in Glasgow already, but Craig Gordon, he's not far from the argument.
See, without taking a completely left field shot at Angus Gunn, haven't seen how he played. I wish Craig Gordon had been the first choice at the Euros, to be honest. Without being, that sounds a bit harsh, but
I mean that is my only concern, and I don't know about Euros, but these guys, the managers, the goalie coaches, they are working with them. Maybe they're seeing something that we're not. Maybe Craig Gordon is now in decline and it's beyond 95%. Maybe it's gone down towards 85%. I don't know, but I just find the whole thing curious. I found it curious that Stephen Naismith didn't give him more time and to prove to Scotland what he could do ahead of the Euros. And then I found it curious that the decision was made not to take him when he's the safest pair of hands you've got.
Yeah. Well, look, Ross, we've actually had a few Hearts queries and questions sent in for the Hotline Live. This one from Steve McSherry I found was quite interesting. Even before a ball's kicked, I feel it'll be an easy season for Celtic. An easy season for Celtic, apart from maybe Hearts. I can see no competition from the pack. Ross, you follow Hearts really closely. As far as you can see, where are Hearts? I mean, a title push, seems pretty fanciful, but stronger than last season, you'd imagine.
You'd hope so. What they'll have to contend with now, what they didn't have last season, is an extended European campaign. I think that's what Stephen Naismith had in mind with his signing guys like Blair Spittle, James Penrice, maybe a lesser extent Jan Dander, but they're going to need a squad that can cope better than they did before, playing Thursday, Sunday up until I think it's about mid-November. So they're going to need guys who can come in that they know can do a job domestically, which they were a bit thin last time. They haven't relied on guys for both competitions. I think that's the thinking this time. They look to have recruited well. And as always, the expectation at Hearts is going to be third. You saw what happened that season, Robbie Nielsen. They weren't too far off it, but they let it slip, and Aberdeen had a ridiculous run. Hearts slipped to fourth. As soon as that happened, he got the bullet, and Stephen Naismith came in. Naismith, he's not going to get excuses. He's not going to get time. The Hearts will be expected to be third, regardless how they do in Europe. If they're off the pace, and as they go out of the league stage now, it's called, rather than the group stage. If they go out of that in November, they'll be like, right, make the ground up. You look at the squad you've got. You need to finish third. So that's what the expectation will be. On paper, they look like they've got a bit more depth. It's one thing doing it, for Motherwell, Ross County, and Livingston, and then coming in and doing it every week at Hearts is a step up. I'm intrigued by guys like Gerald Taylor, for one's been impressive. Shopping in Costa Rica again. You seem to get kind of one of these markets every summer that's kind of in vogue. We've seen it with Japanese players. We've seen it with Australian players. Seems Hearts like what they're getting from Costa Rica. Kenneth Vargas has done well. He's very much still one for the future. This guy is a bit more established in a position that we needed something, actually. But he looks good, and he could be one that makes him a bit of money in the future. So he's one I'm excited to see.
And what about the Shankland factor?
I was just going to come to that, Keith. We can't let you go, Ross, without asking you about Shankland. Keith, all week has been on with more and more info, to be fair, every night on the future of Lawrence Shankland. I mean, I think it's safe to say Rangers are interested.
I think that's safe to say.
It's safe to say. Where, Ross, and I know I'm asking you to, tell me how long a piece of string is, but where do you reckon Lawrence Shankland will be playing his football on September the 1st?
I think it'll be Tynecastle. Ask me again next season. I don't think it will be. I think...
Well, it won't be because he's not going to agree a new contract. That's already stalled.
No. I suppose Hearts have got to balance this, as always in these situations. Is Lawrence Shankland worth more to Hearts staying here and scoring goals and leaving them free in the summer? Do they think they can get the money in that's going to make it worth their while before the end of this window? I don't think they will. They're not going to be able to replace him regardless of when he goes. Players that score that amount of goals, the Hearts just can't afford them. They're going to have to get creative. It's a lot of goals to replace. Hearts are really, really reliant on him. I mean, just look at the percentage of goals he scores. Without him, they don't finish third last year. I think it would be the same this year. And for that reason, I think Hearts might just have to accept that, okay, we'll keep him to the summer. We're not going to get a fee, but that's worth more than us. If somebody comes in with an offer that's too good to be true, I'm sceptical if that will happen at this stage. If that happens, we've got a decision to make. But I would expect, they'll want to keep him here, and if they lose him for nothing next summer, so be it.
What do you think, Keith?
Well, let's reconvene at the end of the month. I listen. I'm pretty sure on the information I'm getting would keep coming back to one figure, and that figure is around about the £3 million mark, and that's probably £2 million less than Ross would imagine. But I think if any club, be that Rangers or whoever else, can get to that number, Hearts will do business.
We've actually had plenty of comments on Shanklin, I should say. Thank you again.
Hold on.
Please hit us up. Breaking news, perhaps, on the Shanklin front. I'll read out this comment very quickly while Keith checks his text. But Rob Kinnear, Rangers play just one striker up front, and have currently got 3, Dessers, Danilo and the young Moroccan. At least one of these will need to leave before there will be any move for Shanklin. But that, Keith, any update?
Nothing to confirm.
Okay, okay, false alarm.
Raging your date at Costa.
What about that one? One of Dessers, Danilo or Ingame will need to go before Shanklin comes in. They play one up front, Rangers. They've already got 3 strikers. It's Rob Kinnear's point.
It's not a bad point either.
No.
But what Rangers are struggling for right now, one of the many things that Rangers are struggling for right now is also a number 10.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Lawrence looks like he's going to get the crack at that because Todd Cantwell was, God knows what's happening, check TikTok. But Lawrence Shanklin has proven that he can slip into that. He plays more often than not, Ross, am I right? Dropping into that sort of deeper role. He's become quite an expert at it.
Yeah.
And so could you fit Shanklin in any other in a Rangers side? I bet you probably could.
Aye. Ross, Hearts don't have a very good record against Rangers, particularly at Tynecastle. Massive game at the weekend. How do you rate the chances of starting the Premiership season off with a win?
I think it's a different conversation if this game's at Ibrox. Hearts are traditionally woeful. They've not been great against Rangers at Tynecastle. I think the fact it's the first game of the season, there's a bit of the unknown about both. Hearts on paper look to be going into it in a relatively good place. What Rangers turn up, I don't know.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, you've seen Hearts go into these games. I mean, there's no form to speak of now, but they've gone into these games fancying their chances and they've been swatted aside. That could happen. I'm not sure it will. I think it'll be a decent game. I don't think Rangers are, it's still Rangers on the opening day of the season. They've still got a good manager in charge. I think they'll be decent enough. I think Hearts will give a good account of themselves. Will they win? Score draw.
Score draw.
I'm with you, Ross. I think Hearts will take something from this game. I think the atmosphere will be electric. I think the Hearts fans will get the place absolutely rocking. They'll make it really difficult for a Rangers side that I'm not sure if it knows what it is yet.
Yeah.
I can see at least a draw for Hearts on the opening day of the season, and that would pile the pressure onto Philip Clement accordingly.
I said the other day, Ross, that Scottish football being what it is, there is one thing that is...
Lawrence Shanklin scores.
He's going.
No matter what colour shirt he's got.
Feels certain that he's going to score at the weekend. Honestly, I just put it on at your local bookmaker. Ross, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on as always, and fingers crossed for an absolute cracker at the weekend.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Ross. Ross Pilcher there. One other guy that I spoke to today, Keith, was our very own Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio, that's it. Scott Burns, our transfer guru. Spoke to him a little bit earlier on today, and we talked about Hibs and Aberdeen. Let's see what he had to say. I'm once again joined by our transfer guru, Scott Burns, the Scottish version of Fabrizio Romano. Scott, you're putting in overtime this week, your second appearance on the Hotline Live. What have you got for us this evening?
Am I getting paid by the minute or the appearance?
Listen, if only we were, Scott. If only we were.
No, that's it. I mean,
you're getting paid by the transfer exclusive that you get, right, Burnsy? So you're short a few quid.
I'm skint.
we actually make out you owe us 300.
I owe you. I could be right.
I'd love to take part in this, but I've got work to do, real work. I'll let you guys speak.
I mean, obviously there was a lot of focus this week on Rangers and Celtic, but I mean, one that's probably gone under the radar a bit is probably Aberdeen. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation and noise about Bojan Majowski this summer. He
Yep.
scored a lot of goals last year for Aberdeen, their prize asset, the North Macedonian International. He's made one appearance so far this season. He came off the bench against Airdrie when there was an offer earlier, an offer rejected, I think at the end of last week, from the Spanish club Espanyol, which is around £3 million, which
you'd imagine Aberdeen wanted. Imagine at least double that.
It didn't even enter the conversation. I don't think if it's thanks, but no thanks. It wasn't even one that can be negotiating. Aberdeen, I think. They know they've got a real asset in their hands. The player's still got two seasons left in his contract, and I would suspect that if he goes anywhere, that it'd probably be a record transfer the way it's going. That would certainly pass Ramsey's move when he made the switch to Liverpool, Calvin Ramsey. But as it stands, there's lots of interest from Italian clubs. There's a lot of noise from English clubs. I think a lot of it's come via the agent. There hasn't been too much direct contact with Aberdeen. But as it stands, there's no one near the sort of figures that Aberdeen will look for in demand. You know what I mean? So unless that things change dramatically, I don't see Bojan Miovski going anywhere in a hurry.
It's similar, isn't it, Burnsy, in terms of Matt O'Reilly, because he doesn't seem to be making too many noises. Miovski, he's not throwing the toys at the pram. As you say, he's made an appearance already for Aberdeen this season. He's not pushing too hard, but do you anticipate that might change as August goes on?
I think it might change if the bids get to a level. When I say a level, maybe 5-6 million. If they get to that point and there's no movement, I think you could see the player becoming unsettled. The fact he hasn't started so far would suggest that maybe he thinks there's a move in the offing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to what Brendan Rodgers said yesterday. It's valuations, but maybe clubs are not valuing the Scottish Premier League again. And maybe Bojan Miovski's falling into that same sort of category as Brendan Rodgers alluded to yesterday with Matt O'Reilly. You know what I mean?
I get that £6 million, for Aberdeen and for any Scottish team really is a lot of money. But in the wide world of transfers these days, it's not a fortune. And I think Aberdeen are well within their rights to hold out for, well, at least that. I think he's definitely worth at least, an Aberdeen record transfer fee.
He certainly is. And he's a goal scorer, and goal scorers are always in demand. You know what I mean? He's also he's an international player. He's now one of the main strikers for North Macedonia. You know what I mean? So there's a value there. And maybe once I think things might heat up on the Miovski front in the next couple of weeks because it's been a slow burner with the European Championships and the top leagues and the top clubs have been late in returning sort of thing. And then that's had a knock-on effect on sort of business. So I think with the Bojan thing, it's going to be one of the bigger leagues and it's going to be probably nearer the end of the window where clubs start making their moves. But
it's
I think
also...
And Aberdeen-wise, though, obviously we're talking about Miovski and they've got the Duke thing to deal with as well. He's still not back. I don't think there's been any bids. There's not been any bids accepted for him yet. They still need to resolve that. But I know that the Aberdeen manager just now, his priority is trying to bring players in. And I know they are trying to work on players ahead of Monday's opening at St Johnstone because they feel they are light in a couple of areas. And one of those areas, I think they're really looking towards the midfield just now. I think they're trying to try and get a midfield. They're hoping to try and get a midfielder in as soon as possible with obviously Dante Polvara's injury. But I think there may also be concerns over Leighton Clarkson, who went off against Dumbarton at the weekend with a shoulder problem. So it remains to be seen if he's fit for Monday night. But if he's not fit, then that's two down in that area. I think that's an area that Aberdeen will look to strengthen in the next few days.
It's obviously a massive sum for Aberdeen and Jimmy Thielen, but also a huge few months for Hibs. David Gray's revolution. Hibs got off to a flying start, obviously in the Premier Sports Cup, but they were brought back down to earth in that Kelty Hearts defeat. Can you bring us any Hibs transfer news? Are they kind of making any moves at this point in the window?
I think it's well documented. I don't think David Gray's made any secret about the fact he wants to add to his front line. He wants to bring in at least one striker. There's a few. I know Marky Mackay's working on it. There are a few options in the back on the go. You know what I mean? There's most clubs, they don't just put all their eggs in one basket these days and say, like, I want a striker. There's normally 2, 3, 4 on the go, and then they see what drops. You know what I mean? mean, the striker, Scotland under 21 striker Kieran Bowie at Fulham, he is one that Hibs are definitely interested in loan. Whether that can be agreed with Fulham remains to be seen. But also the former striker that's been up there already, who's currently at Swansea, Mikulo Kukurevich. He is, if that's the correct saying.
I was going to leave you to pronounce that now.
On the radar, you know what I mean? They want him.
He was previously at Hibs, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Under Lee Johnson.
And I think they've, by all accounts, Swansea have signed another striker today, so I don't know if that might open the door a bit more quickly for Hibs. But David Gray's certainly hoping to get players in before the weekend. And another one, it's not a striker, but is a creative player, is Junior Hoylett, which is a bit of a surprise to a lot of people, I think. He did really well.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant for Aberdeen towards the end of the season. I think a lot of Aberdeen fans hoped he might stay.
I think it's the only thing that Neil Warnock did right this time at Aberdeen was bring Junior Hoylett up. He took him, a player he knew well. He took him up with a short-term contract. It took him a while to get fit, but at the end of the season under Peter Leaman, I mean, he chipped in with an almighty number of assists and goals and was really a key player. He was obviously out of contract in the summer. Aberdeen offered him a deal, which the player stalled on, and then when he was away in Canadian duty, he got injured, and which the head of the Copa America and missed out on that. And at that point, Aberdeen's new manager, Jimmy Thelen, was coming in and decided to move on to other targets. That left him a free agent, so that's obviously opened the door. And I believe obviously Hibs are in talks with him just now to try and bring him back to Scotland.
That's an interesting one, because
I know they're just waiting. I think his fitness is just. I think they're just waiting for him to get back to full fitness after that injury, and then I would be surprised if he doesn't end up at Easter Road next season.
I know he's in his mid-30s, but he would definitely make an impact, I reckon, at Hibs, the quality he's got, definitely. Burnsy, as always, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us once again on the Hotline Live. Keith sends his best regards. I'm sure that's what he's signalling me anyway. And no doubt we'll
Two stories I'm saying.
No doubt we'll be speaking again soon.
All the best. Cheers.
Cheers, Burnsy. Bye-bye. The one and only Scott Burns there. Right, before we go, Keith, gangster movies. We've started a big debate after last night. You mentioned that In Bruges was in your top 5, is that right?
It's a difficult top 5.
It's a difficult top 5.
Yes.
My friend Josh Skinner, now had a shout out on the best football show.
Going.
Aye, let's stick with that. He just texted me this morning saying, Once Upon a Time in America and Scarface. I thought he was having some sort of breakdown, but he was referring to our conversation last night. They were 2 bad ones to miss. And I'd like to throw in as well The Departed. You having that?
I'm having that.
Departed's good.
But how are we going to get him into 5?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just listing the ones we missed now. The Usual Suspects is technically a gangster film.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count, man.
What about The Irishman? Did you see that a couple of years ago?
Listen, truth be told, I needed to watch it over about 3 separate sittings for that long.
It was very long.
But it was brilliant. And I watched it again recently. And the only thing that bothers me about it is the AI and Robert De Niro.
There's a couple of scenes where it doesn't look right. Aye. Casino.
No, that's not.
Are you kidding? Oh,
Very
man.
good, but it's not there.
There you go. Well, listen.
Carlito's Way.
Oh, that's a good shout. That is a good shout.
Aye, that's.
I thought you were going to say more there. Right, listen. That brings us to the end of another Hotline Live. Thank you very much for getting involved, for all of your comments. I should say that if you want to get involved, email us hotline@dailyrecord.co.uk, and even if it's about gangster films, leave a comment in the comment section below. Keith, it's always a pleasure.
And now we are The Departed.
That's
See you later.
Thanks for watching. Cheers.